I'm Darryl, and this is my story. I like to go back where it all started, back in primary school. In primary school, I suffered from dyslexia, which in my day was unheard of really, and no one really understood it. But dyslexia has followed me through my whole life, actually. It's taken me quite a bit to get over and to cope with the coping mechanisms of it. Lived on the streets in Sydney when I was 8 years old in a squat. My mother come and got me and moved me to Queensland. I lived in Queensland for a while. I got diagnosed with rickets from a doctor when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I was told I would never walk in my late 20s, but here I am today. Didn't happen. I sort of went through the path of trying drugs and alcohol and getting into bad circles. So my story is overcoming and never giving up.
Please do not give up.
From the start, from beating and learning to live with dyslexia, from beating and learning to live with rickets, to the most recent years when I was in my 19s, I think I was about 19, when I got diagnosed with renal failure after being in the hospital for about 2 months with a sore throat. Specialists finally found out that I had, they thought I had at the time, nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, which I'd end up on dialysis. So when I was about in my 30s, I ended up on a dialysis machine. But it was only for a little while, then I ended up with a transplant. That transplant lasted 13 years. Then after that 13 years, the kidney failed, and then would start the hardest battle of my life. After that 13-year transplant, I ended up on dialysis for 6 years. It was a living nightmare. Yes, it kept me alive, kept me with my family, but the nightmare, I remember going to the hospital and sitting there ready to do their introduction, and got, so you ready to put needles in your arms today? And I was like, sat outside the hospital for about 3 hours. I can't put needles in my arm. I just can't do it. I can't, what the hell? But eventually, as the process went on, I learnt to cannulate. I put needles in my arm. I had the option of in-centre dialysis or home training dialysis. I ended up doing the home dialysis. So I went into centre and learnt for about 4 months how to put myself on a machine, put the needles in my arm. Me and my partner at the time learnt how to live on a machine and dialysis, and took up quite a bit of our life. Sometimes it was 8 hours a day, every day, for 6 to 7 days a week. Depends on how much fluid and how much I needed to take off. But the 6-year nightmare, I got quite sick, I got quite skinny, I lost all sort of male drives. I was sickly. At one stage I was told to say goodbye to my family because I was getting so sick. I couldn't handle dialysis. I still worked my business at the time, and things were just getting so bad. And since I already had the first transplant, I remember going in to see the doctors, and they said to me, listen, it might be another 6 years because your antibodies aren't in whack, so you mightn't get another transplant. And as you're learning to live and deal with the rest of my life on dialysis, like what the fuck, what's the point? And I suffered as a child with depression, even tried to take my own life as a child a couple of times from all the rickets and the dyslexia and all the stuff that I've overcome. But this is one of the hardest battles, like I said. So after they told me it could be another 6 years and it could be the rest of my life, I took a bit to deal with that. But I had a phone call in the middle of the night about 2 weeks after that conversation, private number, and didn't really don't really answer private numbers, but answered it. And, hi, this is a hospital. We might have a kidney match for you. So we all went into the hospital and a bit nervous about getting the second kidney transplant. And they told me it was an 80% match, so it mightn't work. Sort of taking a risk to give me this kidney. But a long story short, or a short story long, I got the kidney. Took about 9-hour operation. I woke up. So it's been 6 years since I've had the transplant. And I went from the skinny stage of being sick to the transplant, to starting to eat and drink after the transplant what I wanted with the transplant drugs. I ended up quite fat, like 120 kilos of, just blew out from overindulging and changing my lifestyle. And I wasn't in the most healthiest lifestyle at that point in my life. So it was about 3 or 4 years after that, I decided to get fit.
Get down with the sickness, madness is stuck. Get the hasn't given to me. Cut my life into pieces.
So I got fit, and it took me about 3 years of hard training at the gym. And I've got taken from the larger me to the fitter me, and it took quite a bit of willpower to do that. But I've always been thankful for the person who died or gave me the kidney. And sometimes when I'm feeling down or depressed, I think of them and think of the gift they've given me, so it keeps on me pushing through and never to give up. And I've gone back to studying, and I'm hitting the gym. It's 2022, and halfway through the middle of studying, I got diagnosed. I got really sick. I ended up with a fever. I go into hospital. This is a month out of my studying, a month out of my gym. And then I was in hospital with a fever. I was in there for a month, and they ended up diagnosing me with lymphatic cancer. So I remember the lady walking in saying, "You've got cancer," and walked out. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell? And so that was a big shock to the system. And I have to ring all my kids and my family and tell them and tell everyone. And I had so many operations and procedures. I had lumbar punches, CTs, PET scans, numerous blood tests, cannulations, just another stint in hospital, which anyone that's going through any medical things, it just gets to you, the pain, the whole thing. But we never give up. No cancer's going to stop me. And I asked the doctor, is this a cancer I can beat? And they said yes. So here I am, beating it, coming on the other side of it. I've lost quite a bit of shape. I lost that muscle that I've been working on for years. I lost a bit of study time, but it's not going to stop me. I'm not going to give up. There will be a comeback video of when I've gone from this to back to being in shape, and when I graduate and when I start making films and media. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue the path I'm on. And so the moral of all my documentaries and videos to come, wherever the future takes me, is not to give up. Okay, it's been about 3 weeks now since my operations. I've been released from hospital. I'm hopefully getting my clearance tomorrow to go back to the gym, so that'd be great. Then I can start my road to progress, to back up the fitness, mentally and physically bettering myself. This story is dedicated to the ones out there going through hard times, and I hope this story has inspired someone in some way to go forward, to get through all barriers and to beat it. Thank you for listening. Keep your eye out for our stuff in the future. Cheers.